Are you getting harassing calls from debt collectors? Are they going so far as calling you day and night, calling your boss, calling your family members? Are they even threatening to f your wife? It happens. Please, please, please pay attention. We're gonna talk about these subjects. We're gonna talk about what your rights are and how you can protect yourself and maybe even get paid. I'm Judah Z, founding partner, PandA Law Firm, a debt relief and consumer protection law firm here in Las Vegas, Nevada. What we're gonna be talking about today is debt collector harassment and your rights under the FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. A lot of things that we're gonna be talking about, or some of the things I should say, are Nevada specific. Although the FDCPA is a federal law, if you have questions about specific laws in your jurisdiction, please go consult a local attorney. So when we're talking about the FDCPA, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, we're talking about debt collectors harassing you. It's always important to get and retain facts, right? Evidence. So we can do this by recording phone calls when they call. Now in Nevada, and I think in most states, it's wise to protect yourself because sometimes there's a violation or illegality in you recording phone calls and not telling the other party, right? Surreptitious kind of recording. So what you want to do if someone calls is just advise them, hey, look, this call may be recorded. And that way you kind of cover your butt there, and it's wise to do so you don't get caught up in some kind of criminal charge or civil charge. So if you're recording a call to collect evidence from a debt collector harassing you, just let them know, hey, look, this call may be recorded like they do. So what is the FDCPA, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act? It's a federal law. It protects consumers against debt collectors that are harassing you or calling you at certain times where they shouldn't, or calling you too much, or threatening certain things they shouldn't, or talking to people they shouldn't talk to. Now, the most important thing where most people get kind of caught up on is it only applies to debt collectors. It does not apply to your original creditor. So I have a hypothetical for you. Let's say you owe Wells Fargo some money, and Wells Fargo is calling you all times a day and threatening you and things of this nature. They're not going to fall under the FDCPA. You're not going to have any violations because they're an original creditor. You took the money from Wells Fargo on that credit card and they're trying to collect. Now, if they cannot collect, eventually they may send it to a debt collector. Let's just call it ABC Debt Collection. If ABC calls you too much during the day or during the week or outside of certain hours, which we'll talk about specifically here in a moment, now you can go after them for an FDCPA violation. And one of the great things about the FDCPA violations are most lawyers are going to take these on a contingency basis, meaning you don't have to pay out of pocket. Like PandA Law, we'll take it on a contingency basis. Let's say that we think you have a good case and we'll take it on, we'll litigate, and then whatever we get as far as a monetary punishment, monetary damages from that debt collector, we will then take a percentage of. Normally, if we have to file a lawsuit, it's 40 or 50%. But what this means is you don't have to pay any money out of pocket. You're not taking any risk, and the upside can be great, right? Sometimes these settlements can go into the 7 figures, just depending on how egregious the debt collector's actions are. So do not be scared to reach out to an attorney to talk to them about this because you're probably not gonna have to pay out of pocket. It's almost akin to a car accident, right? A lot of people understand that. If they got into a car accident that wasn't their fault, they're gonna go to a lawyer, the lawyer's gonna represent them and just take a piece of the recovery. Same kind of thing here with the FDCPA. So let's just talk about what a debt collector cannot do under the FDCPA. So number one, they can't harass you. Oftentimes this is called the 7 and 7 rule. They cannot contact you more than 7 times in a 7-day period. So it's important for you to log these calls in. What number they called from, if they left you a voicemail, who they said they were with, what time they called, what day they called. So if they start going above 7 contacts, 7 touches in a 7-day period, that could be a violation. Also, there's time period violations. They can't call you before 8 a.m. your time or after 9 p.m. your time. So if you're getting calls from debt collectors during those time periods, log those as well. Every call, every misstep is a potential violation that will increase the recovery for you. Also, they can't just talk to anyone about your debt. They have to ask, are you Joe Blow? And if you're not Joe Blow, they can't talk to you about Joe Blow's debt. So sometimes you'll see debt collectors want to talk to your family members. Hey, is Joe Blow there? No, well, I'm debt collector trying to collect debt. They can't say that. They can't call your job, especially if you tell them you're not allowed to take these kind of phone calls at your job. If they do that, that also is a violation. They cannot threaten something that they cannot reasonably do or that they're not already doing. So if they're outside the statute of limitations, and we've talked about this in other videos, or for some other reason they're barred from suing you, they can't threaten you with a lawsuit. Can't do it, that's a violation. If they can't say that they already have a judgment or filed a lawsuit against you if they haven't done that as well. There's a certain amount of truth that they have to espouse, communicate to you. They can't just make these threats, these outlandish threats that can't happen or haven't happened to try to collect the debt. If you're finding some value in what we're talking about so far and you want to learn more about this subject and other subjects, please like, comment, subscribe. Any comment that you make, we're going to do our best to answer it quickly. If you do not like the public forum, what you're going to talk to us about, maybe a little bit sketchy or should be more private, email us questions@pandalawfirm.com and we'll do our best to answer questions that way as well. So we talked a little bit about common tactics that debt collectors use, right? Harassment. They're calling you more than 7 times in a 7-day period. They're calling you before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. They're calling family members and saying, hey, Joe Blow owes us debt. Help us collect this money. These are all kind of vague, general things that they can do. I will share with you an example of a case that I came across practicing at PandA Law, and this was from a mortgage service company. So not the original lender on the mortgage, but a mortgage service company who essentially is like a debt collector. They're collecting on behalf of the investor. So this was during the Great Recession. My client got a phone call from the servicer. He didn't answer, and the servicer left a voicemail. And in that voicemail, it was egregious. The servicer said, look, if you don't pay us on this loan, we're going to come to your house and I'm going to sodomize your wife. So pretty bad stuff there, right? And my client, of course, was distraught about it. The wife was scared. There was a certain amount of therapy that perhaps she went through. We ended up getting a huge discount on that mortgage, getting a loan modification, brought the client back current, and got that client $50,000 in their pocket from that one voicemail. So understand, when we're talking about these kinds of creditor harassment, it can give you a lot of leverage to negotiate either a settlement of that debt, perhaps get it wiped out, but also put some money in your pocket. And like we talked about earlier on in the video, it doesn't cost you any money out of your pocket, so why not look to see if you can take advantage of the FDCPA laws in that way. But really, like we talked about also prior, it's most important for you to log these call times, log what was said, keep those voicemails. We need that evidence to build that case. In this scenario that we had talked about with the servicer, if my client hadn't kept that voicemail, we wouldn't have had anything. We would have been a he said, she said kind of thing, and we would have lost. But with that voicemail, we really had the smoking gun. And look, guys, recording these calls and collecting this evidence is even easier now because in the new version of iOS 18 on your iPhone, there's going to be a button that you can actually hit that will record the call. Now, it may or may not give that disclaimer that this call is being recorded. And if it's not, please mention that. But it's going to be super easy to get this evidence that we need to pursue these FDCPA violations. But also, please just record those logs as well, right? We don't always want to rely upon the phone. Well, the phone can get damaged, it can get lost. So if we can have some backup evidence, it's wise to do, especially when we're talking, 5, 6, sometimes 7-figure settlements here. Now, if you're getting harassed, there's also perhaps some ways that you can stop or slow down the harassment. You can dispute the debt with the collection agency. Maybe you send a debt verification or validation letter. You could send a cease and desist letter for these debt collectors to stop contacting you. But look, if it's a bad actor, they're going to keep acting bad. It doesn't matter if you send a debt validation letter or a cease and desist letter, they're just going to ignore it. And when they call, right, they're going to keep on with these harassing tactics. So the best thing you can do is just keep a log of the harassment, the ones that violate the FDCPA provisions that we talked about. And then once we have information or evidence of these violations, go seek local counsel. Consumer protection attorneys is what you're looking for. That's the type of attorney, consumer protection. Those are the ones that are going to help with these FDCPA cases. And once again, it's no money out of pocket, so what do you have to lose? You just have everything to gain. Stopping the calls, perhaps getting out of the debt cheap, and maybe getting some nice money in your pocket. Now, we're talking about FDCPA violations, creditor harassment, or really debt collector harassment. But what that assumes is that you're in debt to begin with. So sometimes it's just better just to get out of debt via debt settlement, negotiating the debt outside of court, filing a bankruptcy, those kinds of things, slowly paying off the debt however you can. If you need help with that, I really do urge you to contact a local legal professional in your area. No one out of state unless they practice in your state as well. So for instance, PandA Law also practices in California, Texas, and of course Nevada. But seek someone local in your jurisdiction. They're going to be the best source of information for you. Now, we're talking specifically about a consumer protection statute, the FDCPA, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. There's other consumer statutes as well. The TCPA, the Telephone Communications Practices Act. There's also the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act. We'll talk about these in other videos, but these can provide a lot of the same protections or similar protections as the FDCPA, just in different kinds of contexts. But once again, they can protect you, they can sometimes help you get out of debt, and oftentimes they can help put money in your pocket, and lawyers will take these cases on that contingency fee basis, which is so important because that will often align your goals with the lawyer's goals. So today, just to kind of give you a recap, we talked about the FDCPA, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. We talked about who falls under that, i.e. debt collectors. We talked about what they can't do. In any of these scenarios, I encourage you to contact a legal professional. They can talk to you about your rights, what you're looking for as a consumer protection attorney. If you're in Nevada, California, Texas, please give PandA Law a call. If you have questions and you're not even in those states, please feel free to email us at questions@pandalawfirm.com. If you enjoy the content, you're getting some knowledge here, you're finding value, please like, comment, subscribe. If you comment, we'll do our best to answer that comment or question so all of YouTube can be informed as well. Because if you have a question, there's 10 other people that have the same question or issue. Don't be shy. This is Judah Z, founding partner, PandA Law Firm. Thank you.